personally, just because it's more.
All right, guys, here we are. We're gonna
It's,
start with our
a bit
Plaguefall
better at,
23 route.
like
You
pushing
know,
keys, because then you have the wall,
Plaguefall is
shield
like
wall
one
a
of
lot
the
more.
very
Instead of
difficult
like trying
keys
to
for
smooth
Prot
out all the
Warrior.
damage, you just
It's
smooth out
really
the
hard
damage
for
quite a
us
bit.
because a
On
lot of the
Plaguefall.
damage intake that you take from a Plaguefall is magic and disease damage. One of the really bad things about Plaguefall is that if you don't have a lot of movement speed or things to get out of the Plagueborer strategy that they use in Plaguefall, then you can really suffer, right? So for me, it took me, I think, like 3 or 4 hours of just running Plaguefalls, like going from like a 20, 19, 18, 17 key nonstop, just to kind of get used to this Plagueborer strategy that you're going to see in this key. You can see myself right now is just like pulling up the route because this is during the bursting volcanic fort week in patch 9.0, before like all the changes of like reprisal or like necrolord. So in this key, I'm Night Fae. Yeah, right now I'm Night Fae, and yeah, we're running with like a pretty meta comp here. We're running with like, okay, other than being a Prot Warrior and having a sub rogue, it's pretty meta because we have like a Venthyr Paladin, we have Mage Boomkin, we have Rogue, that's Tyrion, and me being Night Fae.
Oh my god, dude. No.
Alright, so here we start the key. We're gonna do like the typical thing here. We're gonna crowd to the first boss so that we can avoid all these mushroom packs here. So in like a pug key, you can pull the mushroom packs, but they're not really efficient for time or percent. And that's because of like the Plagueborer strategy that everyone's using. So here you can see Rifey puts us in a shroud. We roar. If just like the roar is there to help our rogue with his speed, so that the shroud can keep up with the mounted movement speed. Right here we run with a paladin, so we can actually use Bob here to pull. That way I'm not getting wrecked as I try to pull the mobs. But if you do this Bob strategy, nobody can cast anything. If anybody tries to cast anything, they'll just die right ahead. And here I forget to cancel my Bob, so everyone's kind of like screaming like, why? And yeah, oh, mute the VOD. Okay, yeah, sorry. So we mute the VOD here. Yeah, sorry. So like, yeah, I forget to cancel my bop, so Learn dies when he starts to open. And I just make sure here I do all my defensive, right? Because it's bursting week, so right now I'm surviving with 20 stacks of bursting, which, yeah, it does end up proccing my cheat, but if we play it really well, and I don't let Learn die right off the pull, then typically I can survive fine. I can survive fine. Alright, sorry about that. Alright, so right here, after the slimes, we pull the Plague Belcher just for percentage. In this route, we're going to get 20% pride for the first boss. Yeah, first boss. So right now, we're going to kill one of these Plague Belchers before we go into the Plagueborer area. So these ones, you just got to make sure you have some sort of CC for the little slimes, whether you use Mass Root, you use Vortex, you use Frost Nova, all these little things to try and keep it away. You can also use things like Ring of Peace. Right here, we're going to go towards the first pack of Plagueborers. So it's very important that you CC, use a hard CC, not something like Root, but like Incap works, Sap works, Blind works, anything that's a kind of like a hard CC. So I'm going to wait. The reason I'm just holding Plagueborer here is we want to do enough damage to get it to about 40% before we pull it into the entire pack. Once the Plagueborer hits about 30%, it then goes into its blowing up phase, and you just want to keep the mobs in there. So the one key thing you want to be worried about this pack is wherever you face the Spinebreaker, it's going to do this big frontal belch at like everything in your party. You want to try and keep it away, facing away from where your Fire Mage and any of your DPS are DPSing from. You can see that I tried to pull it towards like the right of the group. That way it's never really going to hit our group. The other thing you have to really worry about as when you're doing the Plagueborer strategy is that the Plagueborer strategy has a 5 target cap. So whatever it hits, including itself, it can basically do itself plus 4 other mobs for whatever pack you do. So you can always see that I'm always trying to pull the Plagueborer with 4 other mobs. If you try to do 5, there'll always be something that's left over. If you pull it on top of one of those canisters, the canisters also take one of those, like one of the units. So if you try to put it on top of the canister, it also fucks up your maximum amount of things in there. So same thing like the Belcher before, you want to kind of aim the Plague Rock away from the group. One of the great ways you can do it is either one, you face it to the side, you can use trees to hold it in place, but you basically, this is really painful. The Plague Rock uses this bite ability. You can see here. No, not that one. But basically, it's a frontal ability, not frontal ability. Sorry, it's a fervent strike ability that hits any of the closest target. And if it's the tank, then it'll hit the tank. If the tank is running away during the time, it'll hit one of your whoever melee is closest. So you don't really want to kite the pig that mob, but yeah, you just need to stay beside it until it dies. So here for 20%, we just pull this other Plague Belcher. Like there's some routes where you pull like the 2 padding pats, like the Plague Binder plus the red slime that's following. But in our route, we typically like to use this Plague Belcher just for good percent. And this is going to spawn Pride. So prides on very, very high keys, like 23, 24, it's really, really difficult. And this is something that we kind of always want to play around and make sure that we have at least some CDs going into a prideful. When you're playing with a paladin specifically, I like to use this thing that we call like the rule of 2. And the rule of 2 is making sure that you always have at least 2 CDs for a prideful if you're going to kill it. In some high keys, you just end up skipping pride, right? So it doesn't matter. But in this key with bursting, we try not to skip any prides. So on the rule of 2 here, if you can see on the left side, the cooldowns involved can either be healer cooldowns or DPS cooldowns. So right now, Learn is using his combust on the pride, and Rifey is also using some cooldowns, right? So we have both Learn's big combust, Rifey's natural like 45-second damage cooldowns, and then also Amir's popping wings here. So it's like 2.5, but we always want to at minimum have 2 major CDs going to kill Pride. If nobody has CDs, we're basically going to wipe and then the key's over, right? So here we kill Pride as we go into the first boss. So a couple of tips about this first boss is, I think like most people already know, is you don't really want to have to kill any of the little slime ads if you don't have to. But if your group doesn't have any other CCs, like you don't have Mass Root, you don't have Vortex, you don't have Frost Nova, you don't have Ring of Frost, then you're gonna have to end up killing them, right? Oh my god, it's lagging. No, this is unexpected. Okay, sorry. So yeah. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use a hard CC like Incap on the first ad or Blind in this case, or I don't know if we use Blind or we use a single root for the big slime, but we definitely gonna CC it. And then for the small little ads, we're gonna use things like Vortex and then Mass Root to keep them all in place, so we don't have to end up killing them. Man, this is gonna have to be edited a ton. Okay, so the other tip that I can give you as a prot warrior here is that every time the boss plague stomps, it puts a dot on every single one of your team members. But as a prot warrior, if you hit spell reflect, you actually don't get that dot. So yeah, we're keeping it again to the right side near the edge of the exit area, just so that yeah, you see I hit spell reflect here and I don't get the dot, but everyone else will get the dot. So we're just making sure that we only have one ad set. You're going to typically only get one ad set on a fort week, but on a tyrannical week, you're almost indefinitely going to get 2 to 3 ad sets. So that's what you just have to be careful about. But yeah, basically this first boss is relatively easy, especially on a fort week. You just blow CDs on possible, you just CC ads, and that's all you have to basically do. And the damage profile is not too bad for Prot Warrior. There's a lot of physical damage with him just hitting you, and the knockback is preventable by Spell Reflect. The next thing I'm thinking about here is we're going into the Plagueborer area again. This second set of Plagueborers is harder than the first set because there is a padding mob. There are a lot of different ways a lot of tanks do this area, but what I typically like to do is just do sap and CC one of the Plagueborers. And you can see here, I'm going to grab him. Right now, Rifey pulls by accident, so he dies. So we just let him die instead of like trying to save the pull, because if you mess up this Plagueborer strategy at all, then there's gonna be like a big issue. So we just let him die. That looked like I was in combat there, but I actually didn't get into combat, which was good. Here we're just waiting for Rifey to get the res. This key is like super forgivable on time, as long as you don't mess up. So here we have Rifey. He's gonna sap one of the Plagueborers, and then I'm going to pull the other Plagueborer. Okay, they kind of messed it up here. So I tell them to CC it, and then they both change their CCs when I ask them to break it. So yeah, this is like a show. So here our mage is just trying to spam sheep it so that we can try and save the pull. This is like really important, and goes for any DPS, is that you need to focus on how you can help the pull and not just focus on your DPS, right? So you can see Learn over there, he's just spam sheeping it because I do have a deep wound on there. So I'm gonna use this first Plagueborer here on the 2 Plague Binders and the Padding Slime. This is like, you're gonna only have 3 mobs in this pack, but I'm gonna make sure that these 3 die because they are some of the most dangerous ones because they're all casters. I also use my Ancient Aftershock here in order to constantly interrupt their casts for 12 seconds. Yep, and then you leap out last second. You use trees here to also hold the mobs in place so that it's like very easy with the Plagueborer strategy. That's why Boomkins are like so strong right now, just because of things like trees to keep things in place, and so the tank just doesn't die and get one shot. This Wretched Film here can be mitigated just by getting Freedom. If you get hit by that with Freedom, you actually don't take any of the damage. You can also Spell Reflect that, which is fine, but I don't want to Spell Reflect it there because it also puts a slow on the Plagueborer, and I'm trying to position it into a good spot. Right here, I'm just waiting for that pat over there and waiting for that to get to about 40% before I pull. Ideally here is what I want to pull these 3 slimes plus the purple slime over there. We get Learn to CC the Plague Binder in that pack just so I can pull this purple slime into with these other slimes. The purple slime usually mitigates the damage that anything takes around it, but it does not include slimes for some reason. So slimes don't get affected by it. So here I pull in those 4 slimes, and then we just kill the Plague Binder's soul. Single. And here, like DPS are free to like use CC or use their CDs because CDs aren't going to matter anywhere else in the key until you hit past the Plagueborer area, because the Plagueborers are basically going to kill anything. So anything that's a priority target, whether it be Plagueborers, whether it be that single mob that I do right there, like people can just send basically every one of their CDs, because in this whole next area, it's all about control. And I want to stress that DPS, don't focus on your DPS in this next whole area. All it is about is control. If you can Frost Nova, you can Sheep, you can interrupt, you can push. That's all you should be doing. Like DPS does not matter at all. If you're trying to focus on your DPS here, you're basically just like inting your key and you're making the tank life a lot harder. Because right here, if DPS are pulling off the Plagueborers like because of threat and I can't do anything about it, it's like really really bad. They want to just focus on making sure mobs don't cast, make sure mobs are staying in place and in the right place, and also pulling the Plagueborers. As a tank, I want to be pulling the mobs back into the Plagueborers so that I can get my Druid or my Mage or my Healer to pull the Plagueborers for me so I can position them in a good spot. In this part here, you need to really worry about Z-axis. So Z-axis meaning like that little hill there. For some reason, if you don't position the Plagueborers and the mobs perfectly, like on a flat part of the land, they may not get hit by the Plagueborer blast. So you can see the Slime Claw there didn't really get hit, whether that was because of the 4 target cap, because there was an extra Plagueborer in there, or it was because of a Z-axis, we'll never know. You can see every time we also kill one of those Plague Belchers, 5 of those little slimes are going to spawn. You can deal with those slimes a lot of different ways. One is if you just DB them, they'll stop their cast of becoming one of the big slimes, and you don't have to deal with them. You don't actually have to step on them at all, and they'll just disappear. You can also walk on top of them as a tank, and you won't get trucked too hard. You can use Spell Reflect on it, so you'll take negative damage. You won't take any damage at all. Yeah, but basically you just need to make sure they don't get off. There you can see you actually pull 2 Slime Claws, and I try to pull them into the Plagueborers. Both of them do get hit, luckily. And as we do that, just before spawning Pride. And we're going to use, again, the Plagueborers to kill Pride as well. So here, my team is just helping me CC. We're trying to make sure that Tentacle is in place too. We use trees here just to hold them in place again. These Plagueborers will blow up and kill everything there, so we don't have to focus about using any CDs. You can see our Mage is still holding Combust here, because look, the Pride itself is just dying to Plagueborers. We don't have to do anything about it. So yeah, we need to go back here and pull one more pack. I believe it's 2 Slime Claws and a Plague Belcher, just for getting good percent for the key. Whenever you're pulling these Plague Belchers backwards, you just want to make sure you be careful for the frontal, because as you pull it back, it's going to cast one thing on the floor, the spires. They just need to watch your feet. Even though we missed it here, I think. Yeah, we missed it, or we barely got it. Yeah, Mage is going to pull aggro. I think we hit it here. You just want to make sure that everything is controlled and everything's getting hit by the Plagueborers. So again here, he's going to cast that. All the slimes are going to spawn. I'm going to try and soak as many as I can. You just get the DB there. I don't actually have to soak these 2, but I was like kind of worried. It was like a little bit stressful in the 23. But because the Mage DB'd it, I didn't need to do anything for it there. I could have just walked away and we would have been fine. So here, we're gonna try and get past this mini boss. A lot of groups, there's like groups where they jump over this little gap with slow fall and then they shroud by. But we typically just want to do it like the fastest, easiest way. So we actually get one of our DPS to run by, pull the mini boss, and then we just go jump off the left side here, and then he's gonna invis or vanish at the bottom there once we all get by. Even though you get hit by this haste debuff, like you're actually not in combat, so it's fine. So we're gonna use Plagueborers to kill this whole area. So something I've been doing more recently now is pulling the furthest pack first, because then the boss, once you pull these packs, the boss starts jumping onto the different platforms, right? But if you pull this backpack, it actually makes it so that the boss doesn't jump typically to the platforms that you're trying to pull into the Plagueborers. So here you just need to make sure that the circle there is getting kicked and the frontal is not going to be in front of anybody else. And you can see at the top there, our mage is actually putting flame patch on the ground so that when the Plagueborers spawn, they automatically get aggro to him, and he doesn't need to worry about like trying to tag it really quickly, but the AoE just gets him. So again here, we're not focusing on DPS, we're just focusing on using the Plagueborers to kill everything for us. The reason why we don't kill that mini boss over there, you'll see a little bit later, is that we want to use those Plagueborers to kill the final pride before the next boss. Again, you always want to focus on making sure the belch is not facing your DPS or your healer. They're focusing on 100 other different things. You just want to make it as easy for them as possible. So we missed this Plagueborer, but it's fine, right? Like, because I don't want to rush this area. It's better that you do this key clean than you do it fast. Here, I'm just going to pull these this diamond and circle plague binders. You have my team pulling the Plagueborers into it. You just need to make sure you get range kicks and that everything is in place. Here, you can use things like trees, vortex. I think I use Ancient Aftershock here just to make sure that things aren't casting. Ancient Aftershock is, oh man, it's so good for casters. Any caster pack, it just constantly interrupts it. If its cast is longer than 2.5 seconds, it'll never get a cast off because it'll just constantly keep getting knocked down. So here, it's like a little bit tricky. This mob is like really bad because the purple slime actually prevents things from dying even with the Plagueborer debuff on them. So what you typically want to do is like as soon as everything gets hit, you want to haunt the purple slime out. You can see here, I'm trying to like pull it out, but it actually dies pretty quickly. And then we just have this one mob. I don't think this mob got hit. Yeah, this mob didn't get hit because of, again, the Z-axis thing I was saying. It was like a little bit down the hill from like into like that water area, so it didn't get hit. No, we just end up killing it by itself. So it's not too dangerous by itself. Right here, because we skipped this mini boss, we are able to not get pride yet, and we're gonna get pride on this Blightweaver. So again, we're gonna use the Plagueborers to kill this Blightweaver, but we need to add like a little bit of our own personal DPS to just make sure it dies within the Plagueborer's dot. So we use CDs, or we damage it enough to get it to about 70%, and we want to stop all damage. About 70% means that it'll die to the Plagueborer dot, and it won't die fast enough that the next Plagueborer set can spawn. And we want it to spawn because we want to use that Plagueborer set to kill the Pride incoming here. See, we like held DPS, then we kill it, then Pride spawns, and now we're going to use this Pride to kill the Plagueborers. You can see Learn here does a really good job because he does things like put Ring of Frost on the floor, even though it's like not do any DPS. But if it stops or mitigates even one cast of the Plagueborers, it's worth it. Because again, nobody is doing DPS here, the Plagueborers just kill the Pride for us, and we don't have to do anything. And we can all save CDs for the incoming boss fight. So this strategy is really good because now we're going to have Lust, we're going to have Pride, we're going to have all our CDs going into this boss, and he's just going to get wrecked. As a Prot Warrior, the biggest tip for the Icarus is you want to Spell Reflect every one of these slime injections that you can. So you can Spell Reflect every other slime injection, and it does 0 damage to you. And every other one, you want to use Demo Shout, like Shield Wall, Trinket, things like that to survive. And here we just go full out, except for Basie CDs. We use everyone else's CDs but Basie, because Basie here is going to help blow up this first bomb ad. You want to make sure you always have like some kind of CD for these little ads here, so that they do die in time. So this bomb, Basie hasn't used his CD yet, but we are being able to kill it fast enough. There, you see, like he uses it there to finish it off. We make sure we CC the purple slime away from the pack. We do that either by Typhoon and then rooting it, or some people can use like Ring of Peace and then incap it. So we're getting into the next phase here. In this next phase, you can actually, there's 2 ways you can deal with this final phase of the boss. One is you can CC the purple ad and then blast the boss and try to kill it before the green slime blows up, but because it is 23, the first 23 that we've done, I want to make sure that we kill the ad just to like not risk the key, right? Because if you don't kill it, your whole key is just inted right there. Rafie steps in bad, and it's fine because rogues have cheat, but he ended cloaking. He actually didn't die. So yeah, I spell reflect that slime. I don't take any damage. It's actually really OP compared to like a lot of other tanks. You actually get wrecked as a lot of other tanks, but as a prot warrior, you can spell reflect every other one. So it's like really good. And this kind of thing happens in a lot of keys. Like let's say Hakar in DOS. Every other piercing barb you can spell reflect. And here you just want to make sure you're stepping on the ooze. You can spell reflect it as well, but you would rather spell reflect the slime injection. Oh, DPS is getting hit, which is fine, all pro players. We're all pro players. We're all pro players.
Hey, take away your auto attack damage.
So we're all pretty much having fun in this key. I don't know if we think we're gonna time this one because we're like, oh, we have a second 23. We're fine. We're just having fun in it. But I typically think that keys that we're actually having fun in, we do better in for some reason. All right, this next pull here, since we just finished the boss, I'm gonna pull this slime and this tentacle. You can shroud past these two things, but I do pull these two just so that we can help reset any CDs that anyone may have, so that they have it up for next pull. So like you can see right here, like Rifey Shadow Blades are like 30 seconds out, so that if he does want to use it on the next pull, he has that option. We have Combust up, and even CA Convoke is coming up for Basie. Like Convoke is up, but CA isn't. I don't think we use CA on this pull though, but I definitely think we use Combust and we use Shadow Blades. So this one, this tentacle here, you just gotta make sure you stun it immediately when it grabs somebody in the air. That's all you have to do. There's like this 2-pack is like nothing. We're all just basically prepping for this next big pack here. I also want to make sure I have Ancient Aftershock up because Ancient Aftershock is so good at stopping all the casts and the defender's shield that they do here. I think on this pull here, I focus on making sure I kick the big giant, and my whole team focuses on kicking anything else that they need to. I drop Ancient Aftershock here just so that that bulwark right there you saw, it gets instantly cancelled when it happens. And we use trees here just because this is actually going to hurt the tank quite a bit on this pull, and we want to kill this pull as fast as possible so we don't run out of space on the platform. You can see here, I'm just like slowly stutter stepping, making sure I shield block up whenever the mobs are going to hit me. I focus a lot on revenge here, just to make sure that I do have aggro as my DPS are using their combust, using all their CDs, just to make sure I maintain aggro. So again, we finished there. Then we're going to move on to like these next 3 pulls or 2 pulls are some of the hardest pulls in Plaguefall. The Plagueborer strategy is really hard to survive, but these pulls you don't have Plagueborers to kill it, and the ambushers do a shit ton of damage whenever they use ambush. So here, I actually asked Rifey to try and sap it. The reason why we want to try and sap it is so that we can do this pack later, just so that we can reset our CDs before Pride. And that's why we're not doing it right away, and we do it as the 3rd pack. Rifey cheats here, which is okay, he vanishes, then he saps. If you're a Demon Hunter, you can just use Spectral Sight and then CC it yourself. Yeah. We go in here. The most dangerous pack in this pull is the Ambusher. The snipers are shooting random team members, so that's where a lot of healing is going. You can see the Basie just got destroyed there. I think he did get aggro there for a second, but the Ambusher is just destroying us. So whenever the Ambusher is casting, you'll see it. There's a cast that's kickable. You don't really want to kick it. This enveloping webbing, you don't want to kick it because the Ambusher is then not using ambush on you and is not killing your entire group. Yes, those stealth things are out right now. I use AoE taunt to bring them in, but we're not kicking the enveloping webbing because it's just making sure he's not using this ambush ability. This ambush ability also hits anybody that's behind you or like right beside you as the tank. So you want to make sure your back is always away from the group. You can see right now I'm trying to put my back away from the casters and the healer and Rifey, because whenever it does ambush, it hits like an AoE anything around you. Here we kick the Venom Fang, and we're not. Okay, somebody kicks the enveloping webbing there, but you don't really want to kick it. I think Learn locks it. He uses counterspell. As a mage, if you counterspell that enveloping webbing like right before it finishes casting, then it's actually silenced out of all schools of magic or whatever for 4 seconds, so it won't cast any spells at all for 4 seconds, which is also fine. So we go into the second pull. Pride will not spawn from this pack because we did CC that single mob earlier. So again, it's fine. So you see the Ambusher just fucking destroys us. The ambush is actually physical damage. So it is blockable, but the thing about the Ambusher is that he hits you as soon as he jumps behind you, and ambush will always hit you in the back. So it's like impossible to like 360 and hit it or block the damage. One way I have found of like preventing the ambush damage is that as soon as the guy ambushes, you actually leap away. But you only have so many leaps, right? So you can't do that for every single one. And I'm also trying to keep all the mobs in flame patch. But if I'm gonna die, I will jump away and make sure that I don't take that ambush damage. Dude, it hurts so bad. I'm trying to like save my CDs for boss and for like the next ambusher and pride, but I'm just like too worried, so I just kind of blow everything here. My DPS here are being very, very good about being vocal and stopping those stealthlings from spawning. If you're in a coordinated group, you don't want to like blow everything, right? You don't want to like DB, Fear, Ring of Frost, like every Typhoon, all the guys at the same time, because there are going to be multiple times those little ads are going to spawn. So you want to like call out, oh, I'm going to DB next, or I'm going to blinding light next. So you guys don't overlap all your CDs at the same time to stop the stealthlings. Here, I'm just waiting for like some CDs, making sure we're all top, making sure Aimer gets some mana before we go into Pride. Because Pride will spawn after this. On keys that like on weeks that aren't bursting, this is one of the prides that people do tend to skip. So they pull it like up the hill and then they skip this pride. But you know, because it's bursting and we don't want to like deal with like missing the pride skip, we just end up killing it. So you see there, Learn does end up kicking it at the very last second, so that it locks out the ambusher for 4 seconds from casting anything. Here you just want to make sure that, you know, the ambusher is CC'd as much as you can. You don't want to kick this enveloping webbing. We all just like let it cast as we prepare for the final pride that we're going to do in this key. So again, remember, anytime you're with a paladin, you always want to use rule of 2. So we're going to send 2 CDs here just to make sure that we do kill this. So right there you see Combust is going to go off. Aimer, I believe, is going to hit wings here. We can see though. But like prides are the scariest thing for paladins, like in these high keys. They're not like shamans or like other healers who can carry a pride with just their CDs alone. You always need to have something in order to kill the pride. So you can see here, Rifey is using his 45-second CDs. Learn is then again combusting, and Aimer is sending his wings. So we're always sending 2 major cooldowns, which is wings and combust onto these prides. And then next we go into, yeah, even with like 2 CDs, we almost die, right? So like 2 CDs is like the bare minimum. 2.5 CDs is like where you're like pretty safe. All right, this is the 3rd boss of Plaguefall. One of the major tricks we use here is that whenever he summons the little ads, your mage can use his mirror images, and then it just completely negates the intermission mechanic, and all the ads start run to you. So you can do that on every third summoning of these ads. So the very first one and the 4th one, you can use mirror images. The 2nd and the 3rd spawn of the ads, you need to use something else, whether it's the mage jumping out, you heroic leaping, things like that. And on a 23 here, anytime you get that ambush, you basically need to use some kind of defensive, and you need to make sure you're top, because that thing just wrecks your team. As a prot warrior, this fight isn't that bad for us. Like as long as we have shield block up, we're pretty immune. You can make sure you spell reflect that cytotoxic slash, because it does make it so that you take some magic damage, and you know, DRing some magic damage is better than not DRing any magic damage. But you got to make sure that your druid or your paladin dispels you as soon as they can, because as prot warrior we are very weak to magic damage, and we want to make sure that we aren't getting destroyed. So you can also tend to trees every other ambusher pull, just to make sure, you know, we're completely safe. And then yeah, we're just gonna end up killing this boss. This boss is actually pretty easy on every week except necrotic weeks. Necrotic weeks are really, really bad for this boss, because all those little ads actually constantly put you in necrotic or give you necrotic stacks, and then like it's like very, very hard to drop necrotic on this. I'm having a little trouble here because I don't have Thunderclap up, and my Revenge for some reason missed that assassin. But yeah, we're pretty fine here. We're in like the home stretch here, because if a next set of ads does spawn, Learn will just mirror images and it'll all come in, and we won't take any damage during the intermission phase. After this, Basie is going to do something pretty wild. He's going to go down and start DPSing the back 2 skeleton packs of the final boss, and this does help you save time because Boomkins can solo them, and it helps you with bursting so that you're not bursting everything at once, like all 15 packs at the same, or 15 mobs at the same time. You saw mirror images there again. I am being like a little bit greedy on my shield wall there. I do proc cheat, and then I hit my shield wall, which was my mistake there. I should have hit shield wall earlier, but I was trying to save it because I was like, the boss is almost dead, boss is almost dead. But just to be safe, I should have used it. So here you can see Basie, he's going to run into the final boss room, and here we're going to pull this Plague Rock here. So you can pull this Plague Rock. It's not going to come down right away, but it will snap down after like 10 seconds, something like that. It will be evading, so no one should be healing or DPSing until the mob becomes really active. And this is a good way to get 2% more before we go down on this route. I could go and pull like an ambusher or another mob, but this mob specifically hurts a lot less than an ambusher, and it doesn't cause like anything needs to be CC'd, anything needs to be an issue. All it does is do that beak ability and the wing buffet, so that you can point away from the group and does nothing. And you can see Basie's not here right now because he's actually just killing all the small ads. I get hit there. Please don't look at me. You know, I do make that mistake. But yeah, this mob is just very easy, and it's helping give Basie time to kill the ads in the last boss room while we're all doing this stuff up here. He just, oh my god. Don't look, don't look, don't look. I do make a mistake again. I'm getting destroyed by this single mob. But you know, I'm feeling that pressure. Oh no, okay. So I do want to die here because I'm trying to reset my cheat. If you know the Sun King trinket is that every time you die with the Sun King trinket, it actually resets. So I've died purposely there so I could reset it on the last boss because the last boss is hell for Prot Warrior because you're taking a ton of disease damage. But yeah, right there, I make sure I reset my cheat. It wasn't a mistake. Don't take that as a mistake. Yeah, so you can see the percent here. We're 84% going, or no, sorry, we're 83% going down. The reason it's 85 now is that Basie's killing ads in the back, but 83% means that we just need to pull 2 slimes in the adjacent corridor over there at the end of the boss because we want to skip the final pride. We don't want to do the final pride going into the last boss because we don't want to have to use CDs on the final pride and then not being able to have them up for the boss. This boss is like the hardest part about Plaguefall, like damage wise for Prot Warrior. So we just want to make sure that we have every CD to phase the boss as fast as possible. We're staying back here just a little bit because Basie is like bursting the mobs in the back there, and I want to make sure that none of us get any bursting stacks. So these devoted are actually pretty scary for any tanks. If they do melee you, they actually truck you really, really hard. So you can see here, I'm trying to keep them just outside of melee range from hitting me, but in close enough range that I can keep getting threat on them. So I dropped my Ancient Aftershock there just to get a lot of good, easy threat. And then all you have to do other than that is just make sure you're kicking this Battle Flesh. So Treants right now are up, and like this big devoted again, you can see I don't want to tank it if I don't have to. But here I just use I'm calling kicks for my entire team to make sure he doesn't get a cast off, and I'm also spell reflecting whenever I can. And I think we also hold pulling the boss after this just to make sure all our CDs are up, just so we can phase the boss at very good timings. Again, spell reflect there, 18k damage. It's really important as a Prot Warrior that you try to know everything that you can spell reflect so you can optimize it as best as possible. Not only to save you from having to use kicks, but also to really kill mobs faster. As you can see here, we're still about 2% away from our Prideful, so we're not going to spawn Pride before the final boss. And CA is about 35 seconds away, Combust is 10 seconds, and Shadowblades is 8 seconds. I'm not sure if we do end up holding on this Plaguefall or the other Plaguefalls we did, but we definitely want to make sure that all our pulls are super smooth. We have 6 minutes here, so we can afford to wait and not pull right away. We're stopping here and getting everyone food buffs in case they died, so that we have optimal running in. This boss, I think, takes about a little bit less than 3 minutes. So as long as you have about 3-4 minutes at the end of this key, you should be fine killing it. If you need to kill mobs after that, just give like another minute and a half for that. I pop all my CDs here except for Ancient Aftershock because I do want to have like some good threat on this spawn. So I into Ancient Aftershock here. Whenever you can, this touch of slime here, you do want to spell reflect because it is nature damage, I believe. So by spell reflecting it, you are taking 20% less damage. I won't have another one for here, so I do use shield wall. I am running the wall legendary in this dungeon right now, and because I'm using the wall legendary, if I wall early in phase 1, then I can have it back again for phase 3. Here, we fall behind on the ads a little bit, so Learn goes over there and he blinks and he actually soaks that slam with ice block, so we don't wipe. That's like a very, very good thing to do because or else we would have wiped. So like you can see how pivotal a DPS play like how like pivotal of a role DPS can play to like save a key without doing DPS. Here I'm just getting trucked. You don't want to be tanking devoted unless you have to, but I am dodging these tentacles while trying to maintain aggro so that Bazy Starfall doesn't pull aggro, and also so the healer doesn't get aggro whenever he's healing me during these phases. And then I just want to kind of position myself the furthest point away from all the devoted, so it dies to the AoE and they get pulled under the boss, but I'm not actually face tanking it. Here we do choose to bless on the second phase because in the second phase we find that we are the weakest, and we just wanted to move the fastest because we don't have CDs that we had in first phase. So here I pop everything to make sure that we kill this spawn, and then the boss phases at 33%. So we're just trying to push the boss as fast as possible so that we don't get a second set of spawn ads. We do end up doing it. That's why we lusted, and now we're completely fine going into phase 3. During this intermission, all my focus is trying to make sure I get aggro on every one of these devoted so they don't just smack my DPS randomly. I'm just spamming heroic throw on them. I'm hitting them wherever I can. I'm making sure that all the threat meters there are all green to me so that they are aggro to me, and that my DPS don't need to worry about just getting randomly smacked while dodging all these tentacles. Making sure that we stop this devoted here, and then yep, final phase. We get Ashen dropped. We have combust in about 6 seconds, and just going ham on this boss. Here in this last phase, the healer and everyone are pretty dry, so you want to make sure that you're using any immunities you have left to like get off the dot. You want to make sure that you're using your Kyrian potion if you're Kyrian, and just generally, using basically throwing the kitchen sink at the boss just to get through the fight. And here you can see I'm also staying away from the devoted. Learn drops a nice ring of frost over there to try and stop me from getting hit by any of the devoted while I come here. I'm very worried here, so we get to push the devoted away, and we end up killing the boss. Now, we still have 3 minutes left. We have so much time. You can see how happy I am in this key. I'm ecstatic that we're gonna time our first 23 key, and we just got to pull these last 2 slimes for the final percent, just to finish the key. I pull the green one and the purple one here. We just gotta make sure you kick the green one whenever it's casting, and make sure you try and stun the purple one whenever it's using its withering jump that you'll see right here, withering filth. If you stun it, it actually does no damage to you, but if you let it go through, it actually trucks you as the tank. So you just want to make sure you stun that whenever you can. But yeah, that's basically the end of our Plaguefall key. It was a hell of a ride. It is one of the most difficult for Prot Warriors because of our lack of mobility. Like, we don't have like the little jump that Demon Hunters do, or roll easily to get out Plagueborers. We only have like one leap, and then you have to like safeguard or rely on freedom to get out of the Plague Warriors AoE. But yeah, this was a difficult key for us. We're so happy we got through it. We have to probably do a 24 Plaguefall in the future, 25 Plaguefall, but yeah, we got through it. This was when I was Night Fae and I was being Corrin, and the reason I was Corrin Soulbind is just for the straight up DPS that it gives me instead of the Naya. Corrin gives you first strike, so that at the first 5 seconds of a pull, I'm doing the max amount of damage, so I can, whenever I do need to kite, I have the most threat possible. Yeah, anyways, that was the end of the key. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I'll see you guys next time. I hope you guys enjoyed the commentary video. Peace.